Good day everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Camilla, and in this video we are going to talk about sorting algorithm using Java. So the main sorting algorithm that we're going to use today is the selection sort and the merge sorting algorithm. So without further ado, let us look this example program that we have created already. So as usual, our compiler will read first what is inside our main method. So we jump to our main method. Inside our main method, we have created a scanner, and I called it SC for Java to be able to receive inputs from the user. And in order to use this scanner, so as we can see all the way up here, I've already imported the utility scanner for me to be able to use that function. And also I also imported a utility arrays, so this will be used later on in the video. So going back, so I created a scanner, named it SC. Now after that, we print out the statement enter size of the array. So I'm just going to run this method. So the very first thing that our output will show is this statement right here, enter size of the array. And as you can see, I am able to input a data here because of this line of code. So I declared a variable array size and called the scanner. So that means whatever data that I entered, that data will be stored in the array size variable. So right now our program is asking us to enter the size of the array. Now I want my array to have 4 elements, so I'm going to put in 4, and I'm going to enter just a random unsorted elements, 3, 2, 7, and 5. Right, so we had 2 outputs that we got. First output is for the selection sort, second is for the merge sort. So both sorting algorithms do one thing: sort the unsorted array that we inputted earlier. The only thing is the two have different ways to sort these elements. Now first, let's go to selection sort and see how Java managed to sort this array of ours using selection sort. So as you can see, after the calling of the scanner, we created an array right here and set its size to whatever the size that we have inputted earlier, so array size. And then we print out print enter and the value in the variable array size. So enter 4, then continue unsorted elements. So that's why we got this line of output, enter unsorted elements. Now in order for us to input the elements in our array according to the size of the array that we inputted earlier, we're going to traverse through this for loop. So inside the for loop, we declared the variable I to 0 and set a condition that we are to continue if the value of I is less than value of the length of our array. So that means 0 is less than 4, which is true. 0 is less than 4, which is true. So we go inside the for loop. So sorting array. So as you can see, I did another scanner call, so which makes me able to input again. And with this code right here, it enables me to store the data that I am about to input in my array in a specific type of index. So let's say that our index I is 0, so the first value that I entered earlier is 3, so 3 will be put in index 0. After that, increment I has a value of 1. 1 is less than 4, which is true. Perform this line of code here again. So the next one I typed in 2, and I have put it inside the index 1. So we just have to loop over and over again until our I reaches to 4. So that would be 4 less than 4. So that's the time where our for loop will be terminated. But at that time, we've already typed in all the elements needed for our array. Now after that, we did a method call here. So this is why this method call right here is where the selection sort happens. So before we jump to the selection sort, we pass a parameter here, sorting array. So we pass our array and all its elements. So we jump to selection sort method all the way up here. So selection sort, and inside this method is going to receive the parameter that we have passed earlier. So this will receive our array. Now inside our selection sort, we did a for loop. This is actually a nested loop. In order for a program to sort our array. So first, inside our outer for loop, we declare the variable I, set its value to 0, and a condition that we are to continue with inside our loop if the value of our I is less than the value of our length after it has been minused by 1. So the value of our length, our array length is 4, minus it with 1, it becomes 3. Our I is 0, so 0 is less than 3, which is true, so we proceed inside our for loop. Inside it, we declared a variable index and set its value to the value of I, which is 1. So currently the value of index is 0. Now after that, we proceed to our inner for loop. So inside our loop, again we declared a variable j and set its value to I. Remember that the value of our I is 0, so the value of our j is 0, but we added 1. So currently the value of our j is 1, and we added a condition here where we are to continue if the value of our j is less than the length of our array. So this means 1 is less than 3. This is true. So we go inside our inner for loop. Inside our inner for loop, we have a conditional statement, an if statement where we are to continue if the value of our array, most specifically in our index was the value of j earlier, 1. So if our array, most specifically in index 1, is less than array, the value of our index is 0. So it's less than array, which specifically is in index 0. So this is our index 0, this is our index 1. So that means the condition states that we're to continue if 2 is less than 3, which is true. So we we implement the code inside the if statement. Inside the if statement, we set the value of index into j. So now index has a value of 1. After that, we increment j and loop back to our inner for loop. So now j is now equals to 1 plus 1. So now our j is equals to 2. So 2 is less than 3, which is still true. So we implement the code inside the for loop. Inside the for loop, we have again if statement. If statement has a condition where we are going to continue if the value of our array in index 2 is, so if the value of our array in index 2 is less than the value of our array in index 0, I mean index 1, because we set the value of index to 1 earlier. So let's see. Our index 2 is 0, 1, 2. Our index 2 has a value of 7. Our index 1 has a value of 2. So that means 7 is less than 2, which makes this condition false. So we skip this and increment the value of j. So now j has a value of 2 plus 1, it has 3. 3 less than 3, it is now false. So the inner for loop will terminate, and we continue to process this block of code right here, which in fact this is still inside our outer for loop. So we declare a variable, an integer type variable, smaller number, and set its value to array, specifically in index 1. So what is in our index 1? We have 2. So now the smaller number has a value of 1. Now next now in the next part, our array, which is index 1, so our 2, we set its value to I. What's the current value of our I? 0. So the value of our index 1, which is 2, we just swapped it. So now this 2 will be put in our very first element. So it's now in index 0. So the value in our index 0 now is 2. And the next one, array I. So I is equals to 0, is smaller number. So as you can see, what I just did is I just looked for a smaller number and swapped it with the other one. So right now our index 0 has 2, index 1 has 3. After that, we increment the value of I. I now is equals to 1. 1 is less than 3, which is true. So we go back here again. So basically that's what selection sort is all about. So you find the smaller number in your array, compare it to its next number, and if it's smaller, or if it's bigger, swap those two. Again, do the same process until this is the output that we get, a sorted element of our array. So we just traverse it all over again until our for loop will terminate until our for loop will terminate, and we will get our sorted array. So that's how selection sort works. So now let's see how we got this last line of output, sorted elements using merge sort. But before I go to that, let's just jump back to our main method. We jump to our main method. So this is where the part that we ended up earlier. We jump to the selection sort method. We jump back because we have finished doing all the code there. So that's why we print the statement. So sorted elements using selection sort. And in order for the program to display the sorted elements that we processed earlier, we just traverse it through our for each loop. So this is pretty simple. So x is equals to sorting array. So the value of our sorting array. So it will print one by one. The first is going to print 2, repeat. It's going to print 3 again, then repeat 5 until it has printed 7. So now that we are done with our selection sort, let us now go to our merge sort. So we do a method call here. Before we go to that, we pass the value of our sorting array. So this is our sorting array. So we pass our array. We pass the value 0. We pass the value of our length, which is 4 minus 1, so we pass 3. So now we jump to the merge sort method. Merge sort here. So this will receive the array. Int left will receive 0. Int right will receive 3. So now let's implement. Pause na lang saka. So inside our merge sort method, we have a conditional statement, if statement, where we are to continue if the value of our left is less than the value of our right. The value that we pass on left is 0. The value that we pass on right is 3. So which makes this statement true. So we are going to implement the code inside this array. So before we get into this code, so let me just explain to you the concept of merge sort. So the concept of merge sort is that you divide the elements of the array that you have entered. So in this case I need to divide this. In order for me to divide this, I need to find the middle. So this line of code here is responsible for that. So I need to find the middle of this. After I divided that, I need to find also the middle of this and this. So which means I need to cut this here and cut this here. So now this 4 elements will be individual elements. After that, we compare each and every single one, and then merge them in their sorted form. So that is the concept of merge sort. So in our first code here, we are trying to find the mid in our array. So mid is equals left plus right. So left is 0, right is 3. So 0 plus 3 equals 3 divided by 2. 3 divided by 2 is equals to 1.5, which is equals to 1. So 0, 1. So this is our mid. So we're going to cut this here. Alright, so after we have divided that, we go to our recursion right here. So we call again merge sort, so which means it's going to run again, making us find the mid of the right part of our, the left part of our array. So after we find the middle of it, again we slice it, and that's the same thing that goes for our right the right side of our array. So we find the mid. So we call the merge sort again here. We find the mid. After we find the mid, we cut it. So at the end of this, we've got 4 separate elements: 3, 2, 7, and 5. 3 to 7 and 5. Now after that, we call in the second method for merge. Now after that, we call in the second method for merge. We pass in the values of our array: left, mid, and right. So here we call in this method. So this is going to receive the value of our the values of our array, the value of our this is going to receive the value of our left, our mid, and our right. Alright, so inside our merge method, we did a couple of declaration. So for n1, so for variable n1, it is equals to q minus p plus 1. Our q is our mid earlier. Our mid is 1. So this is 1. Our p is our left, which is 0. So 1 minus 0 is equals to 1, plus 1 is equals to 2. So our n1 has a value of 2. Did another declaration, a variable declaration of n2. And here we set its value to r minus q. The value of our r is right. So earlier the value of our right is 3. So, and the value of our q was 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So this variable n2 has a value of 2, same to the n1. Now what's the purpose of making this? This is because we are making subclasses, sub arrays for the arrays that we divided earlier. Now I did another declaration here. This is an array declaration. So this is the sub array that we are going to do. So L is equals to new. Its capacity, its size is the value of n1. n1 has value of 2. So this array right here has the capacity or size of 2. So this will hold our left sub array, and this one is going to hold our right sub array, the same as earlier for L, which has 2. The value of n2 is 2, so this can hold 2 elements also. So after that, we face another for loop. So we did a variable declaration of I, set its value to 0, and we are to continue in this condition. We are to continue if the value of our I, which is 0, is less than the value of the value of n, which is 2. 0 is less than 2 is true, which is why we are going to continue. So inside our for loop, so we set the value of our subclass L. So Li, subclass, subarray L, most specifically in index 0, we set its value to the value of array. So P has the value of 0, I has a value of 0, so this is 0. So in our subclass L, its index 0, we set its value to the index 0 of our array. Index 0 of our array is 3. So now this has 3. So index 0 with element 3. Now after that, we are going to increment I, loop back. So I is equals to 1. 1 is less than 2, true. So we go back here again. So this time we're going to, this index value is now 1 because I is now 1. So we set the index value for our subclass, for our subarray L. Its index value in 1, we set the element to, so after we finish processing here, so P is equals to 0, I is equals to 1, 0 plus 1 equals 1. So its value here, we're going to set its value here to the value of our array, which most specifically in index 1, so 0, 1, so 2. So L our subarray L in index 1 has a value of 2. So that is for our first subclass. So subarray. After that, we increment I and loop back. So I is equals to 2. 2 is less than 2, false. So we jump to the next loop. Now this, we declared a variable j, set its value to 0. J is less than 2. So 0 is less than 2, which is true. So basically, we just repeat the process that we did in our first loop. So let me traverse this for you. So for the first loop, j is equals to 0. 0 is less than 2, which is the value of n2 variable. So true. We perform the code inside of it. So it's pretty much the same as here. So the value that we're going to put in our subarray M, most specifically in index 0, is going to be the value after this formula. So in our array, our Q has a value of 1, plus 1 is equals to 2, plus 0 is equals to 2. So the value of our array here, 0, 1, 2, we have 7. So subarray M in index j has a value of element 7, this one. And after that, we increment j, loop back. So j is equals to 1. 1 is less than 2, true. Traverse back. So in subarray index 2, subarray index 1. In our subarray index 1, we set its value again after we perform this formula. So array. So Q is 1 plus 1, 2. J is now 1, so 3. So 3. So we set the value of this. So we set its element of the specified index of the element 0, 1, 2, 3. So the element 5. So now our subarray M on index 3 has now the element of 5. After that we increment J again. Increment J. Now J is equals to 2. J 2 is less than 2, false, so we terminate this loop and continue the code below it. So I did a couple of variable declaration for our loops here, and set each of their values to 0. The first one, I, set its value to 0, J set its value to 0 again, and K set its value to P, which is 0. While here, and this while here. So first while that we have right here, right, so this while right here pretty much copies the element in our right array if there is any, but since there is not, so we go to our next while. So again, this pretty much copies the remaining element if there is any, but this time on the left side of our array. So as you can see, there is no remaining elements. So so we got our sorted arrays now, and in order for it to display, we go back to our main method. After that, and print this statement: sorted elements using merge sort, and system that out the print line arrays to string and sorting array. So this is why we have printed this, we have managed to display this output of our array. So we are able to use toString because we have imported util arrays earlier. So that puts an end for my discussion this video. I hope you learned something from me, and thank you so much for watching. And